Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Lead the Future, Change the Conversation, an unedited, honest, and raw conversation. I'm Arjan Visser, Futurist and your host, and join me as I chat with my friend Rob Schulz on self-leadership, future, and peers. Rob is a fellow traveler, entrepreneur, coach, and investor business owner. He's a prophetic visionary who imagines what is possible. Too much text, Rob, to introduce you. I just call you my friend. Welcome in the podcast.
Thank you very much.
So, lead the future, and I'm really honored to have you finally on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be.
I promise not to ask about the boxes behind you, so I will not.
You can ask. They're archives that we are in the process of digitizing.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, self-leadership, peers, future. Well, I think you already mentioned up front that you want to ask me a hard question.
Well, yes, but did you want to do anything else first, or do you want me to just launch straight into that?
No, we can launch straight into that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've read your book, and very interesting, and obviously I've spent time with you, and so I've been familiar with a lot of the ideas. But so for those of you who are not familiar with it, in step 6 of the 7 steps in Arjan's book, it's called Find and Strengthen Your Voice. And so you said something about when people are trying to find and strengthen their voice. You say a proven method for this is the 60-second micro pitch and 15-minute micro talk exercises used in the Business Revivalist Peer Mastermind group. So my question to you is, how are the 60-second pitches and the 15-minute talks, how are they a proven method for people finding their voice and strengthening their voice? Where's the proof?
Buy myself some time, just offer everyone listening to get a copy of the book and read the 7 steps. So the link is in the screen, businessrevivalists.com/book. And it's up to you what you want to invest for it to get a copy. Rob, step 6, find your voice. Well, actually, when I started the mastermind, and we celebrated recently, October 18th, the 5-year anniversary of running the mastermind. When I started it, I had this inside out reverse perspective of what if we find our voice and accelerate to convergence instead of the other direction that we see in many converging teachings where they say converge and then you find your voice. The format we started with 5 years ago is still the same, but it's more and more detailed. So the idea, the concept, the 5 steps are actually the same as the initial 5 steps. So the 5 years of the mastermind has proven that this process sequence of steps really works and got us a level of detail in it that many participants, including myself, have seen that having that process established in my personal development keeps on testing. Do I believe the new language that I find to articulate who I am, where I'm going, what value I carry and promise to others? Through the process, it's been proven. Do I believe it myself first?
It's interesting, actually. I'm gonna just interrupt you now because you've invited me on and I'm the guest. And you for a long time when I joined the mastermind, actually, because you said like about yourself as a participant, for quite a long time you weren't doing 60-second pitches. And for those who are familiar with the mastermind, it's like a 60-second elevator pitch: who you are, what you promise, what you offer to people. And I think it'd be really interesting for people to hear your process of when, because you at first it was more you were facilitating and inviting other people, and now much more you're like appear and involved in doing it regularly yourself. So what changed for you?
What changed to me? I think it's my self-leadership development. Um, what I longed for and still do is to have leaders around me that exemplify where they go, what the way forward is for them, how to learn, how to follow. So instead of asking your people what to do, you model it yourself. But in that struggle, there is this thing of how do I lead people, be vulnerable, and don't create confusion?
Mm.
Um, and there are so many emotional elements in that one, all the way from not making mistakes. Although I teach, there is no learning without making mistakes. Um, Ashamed that I could mess up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fear that someone gets angry and stops being a participant, all those conflicting ideas.
Mm.
And then actually my people, my people, the participants of the mastermind started to communicate that it's a really safe space where there is, although it's online, they experience an emotional safety to actually process history, personal development on an emotional and deeper, I would nearly say spiritual level themselves. And then I just was forced
Mm.
not to actually restart doing it, because in the early days I did it as an example,
Mm.
because people said, can you give an example, which I think is the most fair question you can ask a leader.
Yeah.
Like but I think, Rob, and I know for sure it was you who just put me on the spot by saying no one is doing today their talk unless you start. um and there was actually, it was like equally messy as the others,
Mm.
and I was really surprised in a really encouraging good way that people loved me messing up,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
and that just created freedom for me.
That's good.
So I don't do it too often.
But that's it. I'm really, yeah, I'm really glad that we've talked about that. But I do want to do what you do and drill down and say, so what you've said so far really is that it's it you've kept with the format, you've kept with getting people to do a 60-second pitch and getting once a week, hopefully people getting a 15-minute talk. But what you haven't really done for me is tell me what's your proof that it works, because you've said this is a proven method. So my question is, how is it a proven method? What is the proof that it works? What is the proof that people's voice, that they find it and they strengthen it?
uh many dimensions on that one as well. I think an easy answer is it helps people to shift perspective and make decisions based on who they are becoming in a situation of starting a new business, engaging a new project, or maybe even switching jobs. That they qualify what they're about to start in relationship to who they are becoming, instead of what they are used to do the other way around, is where they tend to qualify themselves or disqualify themselves for the opportunity. So that is a really easy start as a fruit from it. So in general, I see that's one thing. It gives a new measurement stick based, or actually to support their decision making and keep moving the direction they desire to go, instead of being tossed around.
Mm-hmm.
So the proof in that the process works is that I see people stand for who they are and who they are becoming, and not put that aside based on other motives to take actually not the best opportunity, but actually out of lack choose to do something.
So would you say that then you feel like the proof that the method works is the growth that you've seen in the people who do the mastermind with you? Would that be
Yes,
fair?
yeah. And in the people that keep doing it iterative,
Mm,
I see much more growth than those who do it equally valid just for a short period
mm,
and get to the next insight and then want to execute that.
mm,
So those who keep will make it actually part of their personal development time and prioritize the iterative process. I see them grow because every time, well, what the language we use in the mastermind is, if you don't believe it, who else going to believe where
mm,
you're going, what you carry, what your emerging authority is, what your perspective is? But you can only believe it when you can articulate it in such a way with new language that actually, because it is that how our senses work, like seeing is believing, but faith comes by hearing. So revealing it to yourself by your own words creates ownership, self accountability, makes you take responsibility. And now you have the opportunity to test if you really believe it yourself. And that's actually the outcome of the pitch, is not to prepare you to communicate with someone else and sell your product. No, it is actually that you sell your future perspective that you believe on the inside to your own head with a language that you can keep repeating so that your behavior and your actions align with your vision.
mhm,
And in that process, we it started as a joke, but we invite someone at the end for a coffee or whatever.
mm,
But we are in the lead till the end. We
mhm,
don't just throw it as someone said, as hope is like throwing spaghetti on the wall and hope something sticks.
mm.
Well, that's how most pitches end as well. They throw in their business card and hope that someone connects them. Now, invite someone for a coffee to take the next step. That is not just words or format. That actually tests, do I really believe that this is who I'm going to be? Because talking a minute and sharing all these great perspectives um, is hard, but possible when I find the language. But really saying, and now I'm going to meet you, and we sit down for a coffee, and you can ask me questions about it. Really tests if there is a substance created by you in this process.
So if people are hearing about the mastermind and they don't know what we're talking about, so I go on a Friday morning. There's also a group on a Friday afternoon, and people do 1 minute pitches and 15-minute talks and have a lot of fun. How would people sign up to that, Aaron, if they want to do that?
Oh, best thing is just to connect me or you, and then there is an invitation link to just plan your guest session where you can just sit in and experience it. Because based on an experience, it's easier to debrief what it is about than just trying to give you heads up knowledge. Because it's a journey, it's experience based. Um, Recently, I heard someone mention that it's a mastermind not to learn a trick or a hack, but actually learn about yourself and develop that in your own unique pace.
Yeah,
So I'm not projecting my perspective of life on people,
yeah,
although I noticed that it's a similar group of people that I belong to that this serves best.
hmm,
So, I had to be really honest that I address forerunners
yeah,
and once in a while an early adopter in leadership development joins the group. and they stay when they recognize they are a forerunner, or they have learned just, I would not say a trick, but more like an insight
Yeah. Yeah.
that helps them to move along, and they just
Yeah.
come by.
So I think that kind of dovetails onto, like, in the same chapter, you say the tangible fruit is a leadership voice that resonates with your target audience, making your vision a shared one. So my question to you personally is sort of three parts. What is your fruit? Who is your target audience? And are they sharing your vision?
My target audience are forerunners. Forerunners, leaders who know that in the room, their change makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I would nearly say that nearly disqualifies everyone who blame other things than themselves, although it's not about blame, but
Yeah.
they complain that
Easy
it's about
excuses.
other things than themselves.
That it's outside their control, that there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, it is about your control, because when you show up, something gets done,
Mm,
becomes available. But when you step up in your authority, something that was impossible now becomes accessible for those in the room.
mm,
That's the 15-minute core. That's about your emerging authority. Can you communicate that and then find out which people are best served with it, and then find out what you carry that
mm.
actually qualifies you to speak to them. And that's my journey as well. So what I have, when I started to address my, I don't want to call them clients.
Yeah.
No, they are peers
Running mates.
and running mates, and some become really part of the inner circle. And I
Mm,
think in so there is a distinction between my shared vision with all my peers. My shared vision that all my peers share is that leadership starts with self-leadership. So if you say leadership is defined by who follows you, well, if you start leading yourself, you've got your number one follower. So that box can be ticked.
mm,
That is what definitely the baseline of everyone's vision is that I work with. Those who become friends, well, possibilities emerge where we can work together, because we're not all the same profile.
mm,
Although we have the same direction, it becomes interesting not to just have shared vision, but what else can we do together to accelerate each other?
mm.
And so, and I'll even say, like, we don't make it immediately a formal joint venture. It's not about, because contracts are based on fear and betrayal in general.
Mm,
So no, it's about an intention. Like, we both want to go north, not to the same perspective, vision, place, destination, but we see that we can travel together for a while.
yeah.
Let's travel together. Let's accelerate. Let's have a mutual benefit of spending time together that's more than the sum of the parts.
Mm. So I have a question for you that I think is quite a tough one. Um,
You're
so
building it up.
as far as I'm aware,
Yeah.
doing the masterminds and doing and writing the book and doing the things, as far as I'm aware, it's not made you a multimillionaire yet.
Yet.
So you're a person who sees the future, who has so many tools in the box that you're giving out all the time. So my question to you is, like, what is your take on it? It, like, from the outside, it looks like this is a real sort of slow burn. And like you said, you've been doing mastermind for 5 years, and there's no question it's impacted lots of people's lives. And you've got this your core group of people, the two sort of core groups of people that you do the mastermind. There's no question that there's lots of fruit, but obviously professionally, and you want to see growth and see impact. So what's your take on where it is at the moment? What's your take on, sounds so grand, but where the world is at the moment in terms of its readiness to receive this stuff? What's your take?
Yeah, it's not the. It's hard. It's a really hard question to answer, Rob.
Mm.
Forerunners are preparing for what's coming.
Mm.
So to keep going, I need other forerunners around me to confront me that when I deviate from my direction, because the normal signs and normal definitions of success do not apply yet.
Mm.
There is this maturity going alongside development alongside of it. And one of the things that I mentioned in a recent mastermind is, years ago we said, what if money doesn't influence my thinking?
Mm.
So not the lack, not the abundance. It's simply just a language that my clients use to express the value so they get their return of investment. That's easier said than lived. But then back then we also said, and actually I'm wrestling with that, what if time doesn't influence my thinking? That shifts things from being just someone walking a timeline to that the future is emerging to me, that I live in the moment, and that everything that becomes it's no longer my past, but it became part of me or not. So that is just all raw language to articulate what does it mean if it doesn't influence my thinking. That means that my thinking gets into a state of freedom, that it can go back to what it's good at, and then doing the analysis on how the future is unfolding.
Mm.
With forerunners, the thing is that there are no manifestations in the big playing field yet.
Mm.
Then you need the next group of people. They are the forerunners. And society is currently wrestling of ending a 50-year time frame and starting a new time frame. And the last 15 weeks, I think best captured with the name, it was the management age, where we started to automate and put everything in processes, and we created systems that were not complete, some were broken, and we have many people that are stuck in some kind of a system. But to get to a new age, we first need to redefine leadership.
And what do you think? What do you think this? What do you see about this age that we're transitioning into now?
Well, one of the things that is really a pivotal moment that we are entering in a couple of years is, do we choose for man and machine to come together, or do we choose for that it's about people again, and we put machines, systems, technology in place to support people being people? And we hear that all around us, that we are a human-centered organization, although that's just only the label, because we are struggling that all the books talk now people in the organization are a human resource, which makes them a link in the process. So we are shifting out that people are a resource, and we start to understand that those things that we talk about in the book and in the mastermind, that people need to become independent thinkers, knowing who they are, who they want to become, what their purpose is, so they can contribute to society, not as a taxpayer, but can contribute to society with unique solutions that are value for others, that solve problems, but they're unique because they're connected to someone living an authentic life. and giving expression with their creativity to these ideas into what is received as a solution.
So would you say that the shift is from a management age to a leadership age, or not?
I say that now a new age starts with a redefinition of what leadership is.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the 70s, we redefined what leadership was after the Second World War in the 50s and the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And we created all the definitions. So we are now in the space of making the definitions again, which is really through history every 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just an interesting facet to see. But there is a choice to make. We can follow technology and go for singularity, but we can also go for, and then let's throw in the big word, when we lead from the inside out, we transform the environment around us to be a place for others to flourish. We call that a reformation. And if that creates a society where people will contribute out of that, they flourish, we call that through history a renaissance. And all renaissances has been science, arts, but also on politics, governmental structures. Well, governance structures in general are just leadership structures.
So are you saying what you are believing for, hoping for, seeing that we're transitioning into is a renaissance?
We have the option to choose for a renaissance. And this book is actually as a forerunner for that. That means that we need to find out how we lead from the inside out and be able to articulate it for ourselves, so that we start to believe it and behave towards it, because those two are the only guarantees that the future is created or unfolded in a unique new way. And that's the first step. And you're not lonely. Like, one of the big leadership experiences out there is that people are lonely.
Mm.
Yes, you are lonely in your own structure, because you can't confuse the people with what you are processing yourself. That's what we address with the mastermind, and also we attempt many times in the book. It's not about our mastermind. It is about, you don't need to be lonely, and actually it doesn't serve you as a leader to be lonely, because external processing is not a character trait or optional. It is the only way. Because you have to use all your senses. You have to see it to believe it, hear it to develop faith, trust it to put it into action, and so on and so forth. So that's what I just want to contribute in that space. And I think we have a double podcast in the making.
Okay.
Likewise. So
I'll come back happily.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Well, thanks for the questions, and I hope I explained them.
Yeah, no, good answers. Good answers.
Good answers, like, because these are really deep, multifaceted dynamics.
Oh yeah.
And it's good to articulate them. So I'm just close the podcast with thanking you, Rob,
Thank
but
you.
also thanking the listeners. And I really want to, recommend you, but also warm-heartedly invite you to take every trigger that you've noticed of agreement, resonance, or disagreement, or even be offended, to take that serious, because they are just triggers, and they are real, and they could lead you to develop more insights about you and your future. Even disagreement is a powerful environment to collaborate. So I just invite you to get the book by using the link. React on what you think or feel when you read the book. But even if you had a strong trigger right now, just connect to Rob or to me. You can find us on LinkedIn. and our names are in the description. The link is in the description, but it's for me, just for me to say, like, there is an invitation for you to prepare for tomorrow, and this is just a way to contribute to that one. So, thanks again, Rob.
Right, thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for
And
having me.
looking forward to our next conversation. And I hope it will be a little bit easier for me. Now I will ask the hard questions again.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Rob. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.